Here's some breaking news. The Lakers have made a new trade as they've made a very interesting move ahead of tonight's second round of the draft. We'll break that down as well as discuss a massive update surrounding Austin Reaves that has some fans fired up, and to break all it down on this episode. But before we get into it all, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Lakers content. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. And thank you guys again for your continued support. Okechi, I had a video about an hour ago on some trade reports that have dropped from Brian Windhorst. And we actually have a trade that has went down. Rob Pelinka has not fully fallen asleep at the wheel, though, again, this move isn't the most groundbreaking one. It's a very interesting one and could have some pretty big implications in a few hours' time tonight. Let's just dive right into it here because this is it's an interesting one. So the Lakers are moving up in the draft today by 10 spots by acquiring the number 45 pick from the Bulls in exchange for their 55th pick and cash. So essentially, for all intents and purposes here, the Lakers moved up 10 spots in exchange for cash, which could mean a few different things. And okay, I'm curious to see if you, A, what your thoughts are on it, but B, if you have any targets in mind here. I have a few that I'm going to be discussing. Clearly, though, the Lakers have their eyes on someone here because in a draft in the second round, like usually you're able to move up for cash. So if you really have someone you want in the mid-second round, clearly they have someone they think they couldn't get at 55 that will be available at 45, which at the very least makes tonight's draft that much more interesting here. So they moved up 10 spots. All they had to give up was cash. And this does have some, intriguing implications for the second apron, which we'll dive into in a minute here. But Okechi, they moved up and clearly they like someone that's on their radar here regarding the second round to the point where they wanted to move up.
I mean, yeah, you're right. Is on the radar somewhere in this range, and it has to do with what happened at the end of the first round. So a lot of reaching was happening. A lot of like players who were projected in the second round were getting picked in that late first round. So that made a lot of guys like slip. So there is a lot of different names. There's a couple of centers in that range. I know there's even some like point of attack guards and like wings. So the Lakers might be looking for defense, like might be also looking for somebody of that ilk. So there is somebody that they've gotten some sort of a guarantee somewhere. Like the second round is different from the first round because in the second round, some players can kind of maneuver a little bit more even than the first round because they can say like, oh, we're not going to sign the contract right after and things of that nature. Or they can be like, oh, no, I'm looking more for a two-way deal. You'll see this more with guys towards the end of the draft who are like maybe in the 50-ish range to like undrafted, and so they might like look for a two-way contract instead of getting a second round contract. So the Lakers must have gotten somebody within this range. I don't know who it is gonna be. Like we'll find out obviously once the draft gets rolling around. But the Lakers, they have a history of doing this. They've done this in the past. They did it with Maxwell Lewis and also Max Christie. So funny, both Maxes they've done it in the past for. But yeah, so we'll see what the player is, but I'm interested, Nick, just who the Lakers are going to pick here at 45.
Yeah, that's the biggest question. And again, they have someone on their mind. Like you mentioned, they've done it before, so this isn't necessarily a new strategy for the Lakers. This was, tweeted yesterday. Some interesting names regarding if they want a center. They don't have, their center position right now is interesting because Jackson Hayes, will he return? Probably not. They haven't made a trade for a center. We assume they will. There is some guys who are available. We cover one of them on the channel, and Roko Zakarski. Like, there's a lot of players available, and maybe they think that one of these guys is going to get drafted first. Maybe they don't even go for a center. There's a lot of different avenues they can go here, and of course, we'll find out tonight. But the biggest piece of news here is that they are, moving up, and it's a very intriguing thing. But also, Kesh, you want to touch on the fact that it has some interesting implications regarding the second apron. I covered it there, or I briefly mentioned it in the intro. Let's have a look at it. So the Lakers, by sending out the cash tonight, move up in tonight's second apron, because they moved up in the second round, rather, a lot of seconds, they will now be hard capped at the second apron for next season. And of course, I'll let you touch on this here as well. This is, of course, only if they end up being in the second apron, which not a lot of teams do. Some teams do. The Celtics recently got out of the second apron by moving off of Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. So there's a lot of, movement there. But just something to note in case they end up doing that. So it could have some, negative impacts going forward. But again, the final and the bottom line here is that they have someone they like. My guess would be it's a center of some sort to try to maybe back up whoever they trade for, or someone that they like a lot. And of course, by backup, I mean down the line. I don't know how well a 45th overall pick will necessarily factor into the rotation, though it could. It's not too far off of, a first round pick. And a lot of players we've seen, like you mentioned, Max Christie, like players have gotten minutes before in the second round. Of course, obviously Jokic and players like that. But any quick thoughts on this before we move on to Austin Reaves?
No, just like the second apron thing shouldn't matter too much. Like you said, if the Lakers would get there, but they wouldn't get there if they would make a big trade, so like a big splashy trade, bring in a big contract, which I highly doubt that is going to happen here in the offseason. So we shouldn't worry too much about this. But yeah, eyes peeled though for who the Lakers pick in that 45th pick because if it is a center or maybe point of attack defender, which is another thing the Lakers need, just one of those two would just be much needed if they were to draft them. But yeah, let's move on to Austin Reeves because there's some news about that.
Yeah, some interesting ones. And let's dive right into it. Also, let us know down below who you think they're going to draft tonight. See if anyone can predict it right before the second round. So, Austin Reeves, as of 20 minutes ago, declined his 4-year, $90 million extension from the Lakers as he believes he can make more in free agency next offseason. Now, of course, the headline of this obviously caused some stir in Lakers land and things like that. At the end of the day, this is pretty expected. I mean, Reeves will make more than 4 years, $90 million, especially with the amount that role players and things like that are making. But Okechi, this is interesting for a few different reasons. Now, again, we're talking about some rumblings about an Austin Reeves trade probably won't happen. But Dan Wokey came out and basically said it looks like the Lakers offered Reeves the max and he turned it down. I believe you can only offer him $20 million APY for the first year of his eligible extension this offseason compared to $30 million next season. So Reeves will most likely be testing unrestricted free agency in 2026. I respect the decision. I still don't know how I feel about paying him $30 million. And I understand he was hurt in the playoffs, but he's got to show me something this, next postseason. It's interesting because now this opens up a big decision for not next year, of course, but the year after. Lakers offered him a contract, got declined, and it is interesting for a player who has really taken monumental leaps every single year since he's joined the NBA and joined the Lakers. But he will have to prove next season that A, this is sustainable and that he can continue to improve, and B, how his postseason play lines up if the Lakers want to pay him $30 million. The good news is they can see that next year, and they can see what his fit is like next to Luka Doncic and LeBron James here before they pay him the big money.
I mean, we talked about it before with Austin Reeves and how he's been improving every season. So this is like I think a good precedent for a guy like AR and what it means. But like because of the whole, I think this was because of Gilbert Arenas way back when they put restrictions on second round picks and then undrafted players. So Austin Reeves for a while has been underpaid,
Yep.
honestly speaking. So he's getting paid around like 12 or 13 million right now. So he's on the best contract in the league. So that is a very good deal for a guy like Austin Reeves. But then for him to possibly get that spike up into that next upper echelons, we're gonna have to see maybe some touches of maybe some all-star conversations. Maybe not become an all-star, but be around the conversation. And with the numbers that he had last season, 25 and 5, like those are very good numbers. Like you look at other guys around the league who have similar skill and similar value, guys like Desmond Bain, and guys like Jordan Poole. These are guys who haven't been in the all-star, but they've been crucial parts to their teams, and they've been either second or third scorers on their team. So this is around the range where you want a guy like Austin Reeves, maybe not getting paid as much as a guy like Desmond Bain, but like a step below that. But somewhere like in that $30 million, I'm not too worried of paying Austin Reeves, but then $40 million, that's when you start to get into that weird, like, oh, is he worth that value or is his value going to increase based on how he's improved over these past couple of years? So I totally understand it from Austin Reeves' perspective and from the Lakers' perspective. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world just because the cap is going to be going up in consecutive years. I was like, I can't even say that word right now. But the cap is going to be going up. So paying Austin Reeves more money isn't really, I'm not against that.
Yeah, and obviously, what the ultimate salary is going to be and how much he makes is going to be up to what his performance is next season because he's going to be hitting the open market. Salary cap is an interesting thing, especially with the luxury tax this time of year and the way things have progressed. But let us know down below what your thoughts are. Are you disappointed in Reeves declining this as well as who do you think they're going to draft following a trade moving up? It's going to be an interesting day. We'll keep you up to date with everything Lakers related. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.